Hi, I'm Muki Mueng. Welcome to On the Couch, Conversations with Muki. Today I have a conversation with Mr. Yanga Lusasa, a young man who's really working hard in terms of developing men. Good morning, Yanga. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks, Doc. I'm very well. And yourself?
I am fine, thank you. Welcome to On the Couch.
Thank you.
Finally, I have you here.
Finally.
Finally. So, Yanga, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you? Where do you call home? And when someone meets you and they want to know who you are, what would you say?
Name Yanga Lusasa. Of course, African. Tolo Janga Manju Zulukhaim. Those are my clan names. That's how you identify with me. I come from a small town called Butterworth, Etua.
Okay.
Yes, so for those who are not familiar, just an hour from East London, or if you're coming from Mthatha side, still an hour going towards there. I've got three. We are three in my family. I'm the middle child, being the firstborn son. It's my older sister, and then it's my younger brother. Yeah, that's who I am.
All right. Okay, no, that's good to hear that you're from Etua, Butterworth. And your clan name is Umdolo. My great-grandmother is Umamdolo.
Oh.
So we are a little bit related.
Gazi.
Yes,
the blood flows.
So that's why. And you were asking me why, have you asked me to come here? Because I think one is the blood, but, secondly is the kind of work that you do. But before we get there, I'd like to know from you, growing up in Butterworth, what are the values that you think you've learned from your upbringing?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me because it really makes me go home. So my mother was a single parent. I was fortunate to have good 16 years with her, close to 40 now. So then she passed away when I was 16, and I've never known my father. So when I was 12, my mother told me, "Hey man, have you seen such a gentleman when I'm dropping you off at Butterworth High School?" I said, yeah, no, I've seen him. That's your father. I'm like, oh. But then again, the relationship was so good at home that you never miss what you never had, I suppose. Yeah. So growing up in that midst, being raised by a single parent, I've never known the repercussions of not having a father. I've never known what it felt like, what it's supposed to feel like. I just saw with other kids that, okay, maybe I'm a little bit different, whereby here there's two sets of parents, whereby at home there's only one. And then life happened, mom passed away. And then I had to fly into the world on my own without any teachings and guidings from mom anymore, because like any child, if anything wrong happens, you quickly run under the wings of the hen, So that was no longer there, and I began to see things now in bigger contrast that, hey man, you don't have a father, you are alone, and your father left you. So now, to go back to your question, what values did I learn growing up at Etua? Well, Etua is a very small town, so there I've learned the value of community, because we've always learned how to stick to one another as a community. And the values that I've learned from home, my mom was a very strict mom, a very hard-working woman with lots of empathy. She loved her children. So those are the things that I picked up from her. But then the more I grew now outside of Butterworth, because I had to go study further, I had to go work so that I could be able to support my family in some way. I began to see now that, there are missing links and there are missing pieces in my life. And because, sometimes, especially now when I look at my two girls, you can see that, you get that from mom, you get that from dad. So sometimes when I do certain things, I'm like, where am I getting this from? Okay, fine, the resilience or whatever, maybe I'm getting this from my mom, but my mom never had a temper. Where am I getting this side from? So probably this is from my dad. And the hardest thing, and I think for most men, is to try to navigate your manhood without a guiding compass from the original seed that brought you here. And for me, those were the things that I tried to navigate with, building new values outside those that I learned in Butterworth, and that is pulling other men who are in a similar circumstance from me. So that's one of the biggest values that I hold now, is to go back and pull someone out and try to help them to navigate the space of manhood, as well as marriage is another passion of mine.
We're going to talk about your family right now, but I just want to go back. You said you never had a relationship with your father. And how has that been, growing up,
So when I do my Ebuhanti sessions, Ebuhanti / the Crowd Men's Leadership Program, this is a program I run, but I'm sure we'll talk about it later. I wanna, Doc, this is what I honestly tell the guys. For instance, I tell them at the beginning of the session that, gentlemen, I wanna remove my gloves off and show you the kind of impact I had from not having a father. And for me, number one is rejection. So for me, you know, there's a statement I've always said that, you know, women will mentor or teach or have conversations with other women that you must play hard to get, a local girl, you know, make him work for it. But then who's teaching men how to handle rejection from these women that are playing hard to get? Because there's such a big gap there of men not being mentored, having role models with men. And with me, I've discovered, okay, my mom told me that, okay, I could say I didn't have a dad, and then I discovered later on, after my mom passed away, because my pastors loved me in my church. I grew up from a very religious background. My pastors loved me, and they went behind my back, and they went to my dad and said, listen, man, this guy is working now. He needs nothing from you. Maybe if you were running away from those kind of responsibilities, don't you want to meet him? And he said no. So I think that tripled and doubled whatever it is that I felt on rejection. So for me, anything that resembled rejection has always been a trigger to me. For instance, even if I'd ask, can I catch a lift with you because we're going to the same direction? You'd be like, no. So it would trigger something in me, which would result maybe in anger, in, you know. So, which made me want to do the kind of work that I do, because when people look at men, they see GBV, they see this or that. When I see triggers, I see triggers of a manhood system that had failed. Fathers were probably not there. And now, with what we are seeing now, because of social media especially, we are finally seeing the boy cry because he was never allowed to cry. Yeah, when we see a child being raped in a post office, but when I see a man finally crying, because he was probably crying on so many people, hey, I saw you see such a girl, you must, you know, those kind of advice, and they build up because he's been trying to reach out, but there's been no one there, there's been no branch to hold on to. And now eventually, we finally cry, and unfortunately we end up in prisons and other undesirable places.
Wow.
So that's the impact it had, big time rejection.
And I love the way you use the analogy of crying, you know, how the boy child cries, because I've never thought about it in that way, like as if it's a cry, you know. So all of these outbursts and the angers and despondency. You're younger, we're going to talk about that more. Let me go back. I want to go to your family. You love your family. I am your friend on Facebook, so I see your postings about your beautiful family and your wife. Just tell us a little more about, you know, your family and, you know, why that love?
For someone, Doc, who grew up in a toxic environment like myself, so number one, I was very privileged to meet and marry a woman such as my wife, because now I was your typical male child that was out there very promiscuous, did a lot of very shameful things, and for God to give me a woman like that. So for me, number one, it felt like a second chance. I'm going to quote from the book of Psalms, if I'm allowed to, but in respect of every person's religious views. There's a place where David says in Psalms 8 that, who am I that you are so mindful of me? So for me, when I got a woman like that, coming from a great family, with great values, who understood who I was and accepted the baggages that I came through, I felt it was like a second chance to me. But who am I that God could bless me with such a great gift? And then number two, from having such a past where now I knew the impact of what it did to me to not have a father, because it did something to my sister as well. It did a lot to my brother as well. But obviously this is about me, and I saw what it did to me, and I saw as I was having my first child and my second child, the kind of traits that I was bringing into my family. I said so because I'm the man. And there's no man, who am I? Could this have been my dad? But this is definitely resembles some of the toxic things I see with other men in society. And I thought, you know what? This is now my second chance. I cannot live the same trails that my dad left. I want to leave a new legacy, a new trail of how to do fatherhood. And that's why you'd see the extravagant love. And for me, I'm all about motivation and upliftment. Those are the other things that I do. So for me, one of my hashtags with my brand, Mr. Miyangi, is live to inspire. So with me posting my family and that, it's not necessarily to brag or whatever, but I'm appealing to other men out there that, you know what, guys, this should be the new way of how we should do manhood. We don't hide our wives. We don't hide the love and the kind of interaction that we have with how we do fatherhood. Those things must not be in secret. But Facebook, when you log on to Facebook, it asks you what's on your mind today. So I want people to see inspiration's on my mind today. My family is on my mind today. Yeah. So living to inspire is on my mind. So that's what encouraged and is a backdrop, you know. Second chance from the bad person I was, and also growing up from a very dispositioned, cut up background, and now here's my second chance. Let me do this thing right.
And as a father of 2 girls, that must mean a lot to you in terms of raising them. Let's now talk about your wishes and hopes for your girls.
My wishes and hopes for my girls come back to me. You know, as a parent, I think every parent should always live by the phrase, it starts with you. Because, Tina, we find our parents were hard workers. They didn't know any better, but we grew up at an age whereby study your books and do that, and while the parent is doing something else, watching movies or whatever. So for me, I truly believe that it starts with me. I would love my children to end up with a guy that is respectful, a guy that is a visionary, a guy that will treat them in a way whereby they feel loved and respected, a guy whom they feel they walk according to the values of our home. And in our home, we don't have a lot of values. Our values are very, very simple. Well, let me start with the rules before I go to the values. Our rules are simple. And same as when I start my Ebuhanti sessions, we only have 3 simple rules. I'm a complicated guy, but I've got simple rules. Rule number 1 is respect. Rule number 2 is respect. And rule number 3, I'm sure you've guessed it, it's respect. As long as they can find, because for me, I find all things, they revolve around that. If I love you, I'm gonna respect you. I'm gonna respect your love language, and I'm gonna love you according to your love language because I respect you. I'm gonna show up on time. I'm going to do things with due diligence because I respect you. So for me, those are the values that I try to, those are the rules that I try to instill at home. Value-wise, it's not rocket science there as well. Put God first. That is the first and the very last rule, because all other things, they revolve around that, because if you put him first, then you submit to yourself to how he wants you to live your life through him, which is what I try to do. So every time, I'm not perfect. I deviate a lot in my marriage. I deviate a lot in my masculinity journey, but I go back to my manual. I go back to God, my originator, Tito. I've messed up. How do I do this? His book guides me. I've got friends and communities around me that will guide me. Do this thing right. So for me, I'd love to live my 2 girls with a man that will put God first as a value. As a value, and then respect as one of the core laws that they live by.
Oh, wow.
And it should start with me.
Yes, and it starts
and it should start with me. I should model that. That's why I'm saying the pressure is heavily on me than anyone else. I should be the one who lives by those, so that they can be able to recognize it when they are receiving it. So that if a guy deviates, not what I learned from home, you're probably not the one, and they can be able to move away. They can be able to discern.
Very interesting. I was talking to a registered counseling psychologist, Dr. Joshua Ndlela, and he took from his theory, what the values are. He talks about observation and then imitation and modeling. And you're talking about those things. And as a father and parents in general, we need to understand that our children, would observe us and they will imitate and also model what we do. So, yes, I just wanted to link those two. But now let's go to, is it Miyengi?
Mr. Miyengi.
Miyengi, I never understand that one. Please just explain what that one is about.
Okay, so I introduced myself in the beginning, but there's other layers to me. So I'm also a personal trainer. I'm a group exercise instructor. I'm an MC, businessman. I do a whole lot of other things. I'm also a facilitator. I do team buildings, all that kind of stuff. So with the business side of things, where probably you might have seen me MC, I should invite you to one of my group exercise classes, whether it's a spinning or a
I see it. I'm like, am I ready? My bones are still in a mend. Yes.
So I thought to myself that, I have a very particular ideology that I try to follow when I teach my classes, when I do my emceeing, on my kind of parenting that I'm doing. And that ideology I took from a guy, Dr. Eric Thomas, where he says, before you do your craft, there's only one thing you say to yourself when in preparation: be phenomenal or be forgotten. So for me, before I engage in any sphere where I'm going to be operating in, where I'm going to be providing a service, I've got 2 options. It's either be phenomenal or be forgotten. Be a phenomenal father or be forgotten forever in that space. Be a phenomenal educator or be forgotten. So for you to do that, it puts the amount of pressure and preparation for you to do that. So I thought to myself then, how do I brand Uyanga? To stand for excellence, because I believe in excellence in all things that you do. And then, you know, growing up, you know, we were very exposed to Van Damme. Maybe younger people might not know who Jean-Claude Van Damme is, because he's also a very old guy now.
Yeah.
So in one of his movies, he used to have a coach, sorry, Mr. Miyangi.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Okay,
works
that's
on,
where it
works
comes
off.
from. Yeah. Yeah.
So now with me, probably, which inspires inspires and also makes me love the work that I do as a student development officer, which is what I do on a full-time basis at Nelson Mandela University, is that I'm there to inspire minds beyond the classroom, beyond what the students learn in the classrooms. So Mr. Miyangi, his coaching style is that he didn't focus on the karate, but he focused on the mentality. Because if you fix the mentality, the karate, it's automatic. So in my gym, in my emceeing, whatever, I'll have elements where I will try to touch your mentality. Maybe through what someone said or whatever, because if I touch that, I've given you enough fuel from here to East London. You might not even need fuel, because people thrive in inspiration more than instruction.
Wow, that's exciting.
So that's where Mr. Miyangi comes from.
Miyangi.
Yeah. Mentality more than the physical.
That.
Yeah.
And that takes us to my next question then so nicely, because I want you to talk to us. I know that you are an MC, you are a personal trainer, you are a student development officer, but you have a program, Ebuhanti, the crawl, that you run with young men.
That's correct.
And I would like us to talk about that. What started it? And then I'll ask you other questions, you know, in terms of the nature of the program. But you know, how did it start?
By accident.
Really?
Yes. Oh man, it was by accident. But I think that's just how grace is. You know, we pray for certain things, but we stumble into the right place. You know, that's just how things work sometimes. So how I fell into Ebuhanti by accident is that, okay, fine. I came in at the university as a societies officer, where I mainly worked with student societies. But then the dean of students at the time, Mr. Matiso, he said, "Young, I like your energy. Let me throw you into Robben Island." I said, "Yo, Missionville campus, you know, because it's so isolated, you know." I thought, no, I want to be Summer Strand, boardwalk, the sea and everything. So he threw me there and he said, "Young, what I want you to do here, make this place a vibrant campus, all right?" So then my job became twofold. So I worked with events and I worked with also student societies. But how I did my events was that I didn't focus on the beauty pageant. I focused on the inner being. What is it that you are learning on a confidence capacity, showing up on time, being consistent in not rehearsals, but you know, you are consistent in your craft, in what it is that you do. So I find that even though my students have graduated and they are professionals, they are still attached to come back to Mr. Yanga, because for them it was not about walking on a stage, because I never made it about that. It was about empowering them on whatever seed that the universe had given them. How do you grow that through doing what you love? So in doing that, then we had new leadership, new dean of students who had a different vision. I mean, all leaders were not going to be the same. And his vision was that, no, I want more developmental programs. So like ESCOM does, he turned the switch on events.
Like ESCOM has done now.
It was stage 10.
Yes.
Not even 6 or 4. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So here I was sitting in my office uninspired. Yo, leadership, bro. I'm a vibrant guy. I'm out there. Man. You know, you can't cage me, you know. And then my students were coming in and I thought to myself, hey, man, my daughter was probably about 1, going for 2 at the time, so recently married and growing. And I thought to myself, what is it I can do to still make impact? Because for me, I don't mind. Even if tomorrow I could have another passion in something else, as long as it's inspiring the next person, it's making an impact, leaving footprints worth following. Yeah, like what Mr. Miyangi would do from Karate Kid, which, like I said, inspired my branding. So I thought, what can I do? And then I thought, and I looked at myself. Look at the broken you. And look at men. You can do something there. Then I started looking for a name. What? Because I know students don't read posters. What can I do that when a student passes by, they see, and they can already know what's happening there? And I mean, especially for the African child. If you see Ebuhanti, you know exactly what happens there. Okay, we're going to sit in a circular motion and we're going to discuss. So I said Ebuhanti / the crowd, because I don't want to separate anyone. Yes. Anyone is invited, they are welcome. So that's how that got born. So I thought, okay, fine, we are being drawn into leadership programs. let me do this one. And I fell in love with it. And of course, obviously, what really motivated it was the baggage of not having a father. And the more I did the program, I realized that there are so many men out there like me, but most importantly, there are so many men out there who are crying and who need those kind of platforms, because the healing that has happened in that program, it heals me every day. Every day when I want to diverge, I just remember the conversations that we have with Ebuhanti.
Yeah.
And let me close with this particular question. I always tell the guys at Ebuhanti that I hope you've watched the movie Black Panther.
No.
Yeah, you must ask your little ones, they'll tell you about it. So those guys, Black Panther was never about the Black Panther, but it was about the place called Wakanda. Now, Wakanda was a place that stood for peace, that stood for justice, hence they separated themselves away from the world. They were their own community. So I always tell people that Ebuhanti, guys, this is not necessarily a developmental group. Ebuhanti is a way of life. Just like Wakanda, it's a way of life. We don't kill other humans, we don't do harm to other people. That's how they were. So that's why they had pride in their greeting that says Wakanda forever. That's how they greeted each other.
I've watched, like, now I'm embarrassed because I know it as a Wakanda. Because if you said Wakanda, I would have said it. Yes, I've watched it.
There we go. So every time we teach each other concepts in Ebuhanti, I always remind the guys that, remember guys, this is not just a program. This is a way of life. So in whatever things you do, if someone challenges you into the wrong way, remember the words we've said here, and you say in yourself, Ebuhanti forever. Wow. That this is the community and the kind of tribe I belong to now. I don't engage in this anymore. So if I have a baby, I don't run away from it. Ebuhanti forever. If I'm tempted to smack whoever, I don't do that anymore. If you used to do that. Why? Because Ebuhanti forever. So that's our Wakanda forever. Remember where you come from and the community.
I love the way of life. I did my master's in democracy and education. So I studied John Dewey.
Yes.
And he says democracy is a way of life. Yeah. And how much better we would be as a society, as the world, if we would all, ascribe to that. Democracy is a way of life. Then we'll, be doing exactly what you are doing. I'm very much interested in Ebuhanti. So what type of conversations do you have, or what type of programs do you have? Oh, before that, I want to go back because you triggered me when you said you felt that, you were bored. What is it that this teen is coming with? I just want to say something about that, because most time God puts things on your path that you don't know, and when those opportunities arise, like this one, you never knew that it was going to connect you to your past. And it's only Yanga who can direct those conversations, no one else, because you've got that particular experience. For that boy or young man who needs to hear it, I just wanted to preach that one.
No, that's a very powerful statement, because I think that is the core of Ebuhanti, because I realize that if I'm here like this as a result of having no father, we don't need to go to the stats. They are clear. How many men out there are fatherless? How many men out there? I thought there must be many more like me. So I think Nyani, to step into a place whereby you try to do what you can to go pull other people out, because people love to win, to stand on that podium. Yeah. But to step out of the podium and get other people so that we can also share this podium. That's what then becomes magical about living.
Yeah, great. So your conversations, Ebuhanti, what special programs do you have?
So, Doc, my topics as well happened as an accident, just like the program. Because you know what? One thing I've learned is that when you're going to come and try to offer a service to people, involve them. You can have your own ideas of what it is that you want to discuss, but you must involve them. So obviously, I pitched the program to the department. This is what I have in mind. The department assigned me to a mentor. A mentor was assisting me with the program, and I'm so blessed that it's a female, because people always criticize me, this thing just men. I'm like, you know that I actually run Ebuhanti with a female. And I think I prefer it that way, because I don't think I would have and I'm sorry for this statement because I know I might be, wouldn't have beautiful houses if we didn't have the power of two. There must be two minds that are there, man and woman. Not to say man can't do it, woman can't do it, but you need two different minds to do something. So I'm glad that it's a female, so that if I come with my manly perspective, I could have someone. This is how I see it from a woman's perspective. I'm like, okay, because there's a lot of things. So for me, I believe in the power of those opposites or people that work well towards an objective. So it was that now talk, and then the programs that the kind of things that we talk about, Pa, is that after we had our focus group discussion, I said, guys, this is what I want to talk about. The guys, they changed it. This is what we want to talk about. I thought, okay. I went to the bosses, guys, this is what they want to talk about. No problem. At the main topic that the university at the time wanted to speak about was GBV because it was rough. And then my boss said, no, Yanga, they want to talk about social relations, so it's fine. We can keep social relations as one of the, I've got 12 chapters. I mean, they've got 12 lessons. Okay. So they said, fine, we can take GBV and slot it into the social relations. So my Ebuhanti programs are very nice camouflage topics whereby we'll deal about culture. But we're not going to say culture on the post. We're going to say we're talking about culture in the post. We're going to say we're talking about the essence of a man, and then we bring culture. How do you deal with culture? How does religion affect? How do you see the LGBTI community? And those ones always bring a rough stir. And then I'm not going to say, come, let's talk about GBV. I say, hey, let's talk about social relations, how we relate to other people. We'll also talk about the Cyberman, something that really affects the men. So Cyberman came from the students as well. Cyberman, like, guys, what is Cyberman?
What is Cyberman?
The man you are behind the phone. The men you are behind the glitz and glams of social media. Because, you know, we are one thing. Because, you know what, I could be one thing on social media, you know, but my wife doesn't really say, yo, I'm not really happy, guys, yo, particular, you know. So the man behind that. So we talk about that, the Cyberman, essence of a man. We will cover GBV. Now what we are trying to introduce now, because obviously things change as we develop, as the years pass. We're trying to bring in rape. And we're trying to bring in mental health, but obviously that's something I can't facilitate because I don't have the correct qualifications for that. So we are working on having a relationship with a psychologist to be able to deal with those two type of things. We also do finance, so it's 12 different and they cover a variety of things. But mainly the biggest focus is to have an overall man that is inspired to walk with values that could serve society well as himself.
What lessons would you say you've learned from that particular experience? I'm sure you've been running it now for...
It's been 2019.
Oh, yeah, a couple of years.
A couple of years, yeah.
So you must have lessons. So what lessons do you have?
I don't know who sings this song. We all need somebody to lean
on. It's Bill Withers.
Whoop, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, so I've learned that we all need someone to lean on both spheres of my job, the student leadership programs, and also with the Ebuhanti one. I'm passionate about all of them because they're there to empower. Now, the lessons that I've learned there is that we need one another. We need people to lean on. I'm going to refer again to Black Panther, where now the Black Panther, his father had died, was the king, and then he went to the ancestral place, says, Father, I want to be a good king like you. What can I do? And he says, you are going to struggle because it is hard to be a good king. It's hard to be a good anything in a world that we live in. I'm sure you know what I mean. Yes. So he said, he said two things. He said, you're going to need to surround yourself with people whom you can trust. I forget now what the second thing was. You're going to need to surround yourself with people whom you can trust. And then the second one escapes me. So, but anyway, the first one is the one that really ties on to my point, in that you need to surround yourself with people whom you can trust, because from that trust, you are able to be vulnerable, you're able to be accountable, and most importantly, you are able to grow in a positive manner to unlearn whatever negative traits we might have learned from growing up in society.
Wow, wow. No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, as we conclude, Yanga, thank you so much. I'm already saying thank you for this conversation because it has really enriched me. What would be your parting words? You know, something I have not asked you and you think, yo, when you get home, I should have spoken about this. Your parting words.
I like that. I should have spoken about this. Having the courage to confront the toxic traits that you might have accumulated along the way. Because that's what inspired me, like I said, to do Ebuhanti, because I saw some of the things I was bringing in, but man, no. This can't be the happy family that I'm going to produced doing things this way. So for me, a message that I'd say, not only to all the men out there, not only to my students that are there, but men and women, it applies to everyone. Be able to confront what it is that you feel, I don't need this anymore. Because, you know, when we are going up the ladder, we come with suitcases, you know, because I can't leave my this, I can't leave my that, I can't leave because, look, this is just how I am, this is how I do things. So we grab, this is how I, yabo. But when you're going up in higher levels of life, there are things you're going to need to let go of. So be able to confront that, you know what, let me let go of grudges. Let me let go of unforgiveness. Let me let go of it's my way or the highway. Let me not go of me not being object. Let go of these suitcases. And the more you let go of these suitcases, imagine 3, you keep let going, you keep until you have none, then you are able to climb a lot more efficiently. So let us have the courage to confront that, you know what, it's been nice to have these things, I've had them. But you know what, at some point, they're not gonna work for me at the high I'm trying to go. So I have the courage to confront and let go. And that way we'll be able to climb together as a community.
Wow. Thank you so much, Yanga. Having the courage to confront the toxicity. Absolutely. So that you are able to grab on, you know, to the life ahead and higher levels. Love that, love that. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I had a conversation with Yanga. It was beautiful. And for me, the reason for doing this, it's because I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a parent, I have a boy child. So it is important that we understand our children, both boys and girls, so that we can live a better life. Until next time, bye-bye.